everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Usada Pitch. I'm your host, Avery Walker, and I'm joined today by Usada's Chief Operating Officer, Matt Sicchio, who is actually making his debut in Usada content today. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, Avery. Great to be here. Thank you.
So Matt supports our testing and DCO operations teams, and today he's going to explain some of the ways that Usada is working to protect athletes and sample collection personnel as we continue our testing program during this time. So Matt, after going to mission critical testing earlier in the year due to the pandemic, how have your teams been monitoring public health conditions and adjusting testing levels accordingly?
Sure. I think important from the start, our priority from the beginning has been on protecting the health and safety of athletes and our sample collection personnel, while also obviously balancing our commitment to clean sport and to protecting the rights of athletes.
Awesome. So what testing levels are we at now?
Sure. As we've seen states open up, our testing has also increased. We've seen athletes returning to training, returning to competition in certain sports. So as those trends have continued, our testing has increased. In addition, as we've seen the science evolve on effective mitigation of the virus, including personal protective equipment and social distancing, we've evolved our approach and that's enabled us to ramp up our out-of-competition testing. I don't think it's going to surprise anybody that in-competition testing has been really low relative to years past, and that's simply because most 2020 events since March roughly have been either postponed or canceled. We just want the athletes and the event operators out there that might be listening to know that as soon as events are ready to come back, we're there with you. We're committed to protecting the integrity of those competitions, and we're prepared to work with you to make sure we're there in a safe and effective manner.
And how is USADA evaluating DCO's clearance to be in the field?
Sure, we've got quite a number of protocols to ensure that our DCOs are being as effective and safe as possible out in the field. An important measure that we've introduced recently is that we are now COVID testing all of our DCOs who are going out into the field. So they are on a regular testing protocol. And when and if a positive test comes back from a DCO, obviously that DCO will be sidelined from testing, and we have specific protocols they need to hit in order to return to testing. In addition, we're continuing to use the DCO health questionnaire we've been using since early on in the pandemic, which requires each and every DCO to report on their health by answering a questionnaire each day that they're out in the field. And certain answers to that questionnaire will disqualify a DCO from going out in the field that day.
And what are some of those PPE and other safety practices that USADA currently has in place?
Sure. The first line of defense, if you will, really is that personal protective equipment, the PPE. So our DCOs themselves are wearing face masks. They're equipped with disposable face masks to offer to athletes if the athlete doesn't have a mask of his or her own. In addition, our DCOs will be wearing face shields. They'll be wearing gloves, disinfectant wipes, and hand sanitizer. We'll use all of those essential supplies to make that doping control station and the doping control experience as safe and disinfected as possible. In addition, we've modified a few of our procedures during this time. So for example, on the topic of social distancing, our DCOs will do their best to stay 6 feet away from the athlete as much as possible during that process. And for those limited times where they might need to be within 6 feet, we'll keep the duration of that time as limited as possible. Athletes might also see a new procedure in that we're going to ask the athlete to use soap and water to wash their hands as part of the doping control experience this time around. So those are a few of the new modifications to our procedures.
Great. Well, thanks for providing that information, Matt. It's a really important effort. I'm sure it'll keep evolving as the situation does.
Yeah, my pleasure to be here. And to the athletes out there listening or watching, if you have questions or concerns, we really want to hear you. Feel free to reach out. We'd love to have a conversation with you.
Well, that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you all next time on the next episode of The Pitch.